Those who read this letter will be the most successful people today. I will be the one to provide you with knowledge, experience, and wealth. Most importantly, from this point forward, I will help you memorize the lessons of success in the shortest time possible. Share me with your friends so that together, we can become elite and build lasting wealth. The problem isn't what you think it is. You have been told that wealth is a matter of luck, a byproduct of ruthless greed, or the result of being born under a lucky star. But the cold, hard reality is that getting rich is a mathematical certainty for those who follow a specific, scientific law. Imagine a world at the dawn of the 20th century, where a man named Wallace D. Wattles stands amidst the industrial smoke and the clamor of a changing era, realizing that the universe is not a chaotic mess of scarcity, but a vast, intelligent ocean of untapped potential. He observes the masses struggling, their backs bent under the weight of poverty, convinced that there is only so much gold to go around. He sees them fighting over crumbs, unaware that they are standing on a mountain of diamonds. This is not just a story about money, it is a story about the fundamental right of every human soul to expand, to blossom, and to possess everything necessary for the full development of their mind, body, and spirit. Wattles posits a radical, almost dangerous idea, that wanting to be rich is not a sin, but the most noble aspiration a person can have, for it is only through abundance that one can truly live. To be poor is to be stunted, to be a ghost of one's potential self. The narrative follows an archetypal seeker, a person who has tried everything and failed, only to discover that the secret to opulence lies in a certain way of thinking and acting. This seeker realizes that there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, a formless substance that permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. When a thought is impressed upon this substance, it creates the thing imagined. The journey begins with the shattering of the old world of competition. The seeker must stop seeing the world as a finite pie where one person's gain is another's loss. Instead, he must enter the creative mind, where he realizes that he does not need to take anything from anyone else. He is a creator, not a competitor. This shift is jarring, intense, and requires a total surrender of the ego's need to win by crushing others. The lesson here is that the universe wants you to have everything you want, because your success increases the total sum of life and joy in the cosmos. Scarcity is a mental illusion, a ghost that haunts those who refuse to see the infinite nature of the source. The seeker's path grows more demanding as he learns that simply wishing is not enough. He must hold a mental image of his desire with the unshakable grip of a captain steering through a storm. The narrative describes the psychological war within, the doubt that whispers in the night, the external voices of realists who call his vision a fantasy, and the historical conditioning that equates poverty with piety. He learns that every time he wavers, he blurs the image he is sending to the formless substance. To get rich, he must live in his vision until it becomes more real than the shabby furniture in his current room. He must see the mansion, the fine clothes, and the abundant life not as a future possibility, but as a present reality that is currently being woven in the unseen realms. This is the science in action, the precise alignment of thought with the creative laws of the universe. The seeker discovers that gratitude is the ultimate bridge. By being profoundly grateful for what he is and for what he is about to receive, he stays in close connection with the source. The narrative paints a vivid picture of a man whose every breath is an act of thanksgiving, creating a magnetic pull that draws wealth toward him with the inevitability of gravity. The lesson learned is that your level of gratitude determines the speed at which your vision manifests. If you complain, you fix your mind on the common, the poor, and the limited, and you become common, poor, and limited yourself. But if you fix your mind on the best, you surround yourself with the best. As the seeker masters his internal world, the narrative shifts to the physical realm of action. He realizes that he cannot simply sit in a chair and wait for a bag of gold to fall through the ceiling. The formless substance works through established channels of trade and commerce. The story follows the seeker as he begins to act in a certain way in his current business. No matter how humble it may be, he must perform every task with the consciousness of a man who is already a success. If he is a clerk, he must work with the intent to become a partner. If he is a laborer, He must act with the dignity of a king. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to convey the impression of increase. He makes everyone he meets feel as though they are becoming more by being in his presence. He provides more use value than he takes in cash value. For example, if he sells a book, he ensures the wisdom in that book is worth far more to the buyer than the dollar they gave him. This creates a vacuum in the universe that must be filled with more abundance. The drama lies in the consistency of this effort, the refusal to do anything in a mediocre or half-hearted manner. He understands that he is not working for his boss or his customers, he is working with the universe. The lesson here is that success is the cumulative result of many successful days. If every act of your day is a success, your life must be a success. Failure occurs when you do too many things in a negligent way and not enough things in a successful way. The seeker learns that he must be too big for his current place to force the universe to move him to a larger one. The intensity of the seeker's journey increases as he encounters the law of opulence. He sees that the universe is not just providing enough to survive, but is overflowing with beauty, variety, and luxury. He looks at nature, the millions of flowers, the endless stars, and realizes that the Creator is a lover of abundance. This realization burns away the last vestiges of guilt he felt about desiring wealth. He understands that by becoming rich, he can give more to the world, buy the best tools for his craft, and provide a sanctuary for his family. The narrative depicts him as a man transformed, his very posture changing as he sheds the cloak of the beggar for the robes of the heir. He stops talking about hard times or economic crises, knowing that such talk only attracts those conditions. He focuses entirely on the world that is being built, not the one that is passing away. This segment of the story is a masterclass in mental discipline. The seeker treats his mind like a sacred garden, ruthlessly weeding out any thought of lack or limitation. He realizes that the mind is a creative instrument that never sleeps, and every thought is a seed. The lesson is that the environment you live in is the physical manifestation of your dominant thoughts. To change the scenery, you must change the script. The seeker learns that he does not have to influence God or the universe through sacrifices or arduous prayers, he simply has to align his will with the will that wants life to expand. The story then explores the seeker's interactions with other people. In the world of competition, he was always looking for a way to get the better of someone. In the world of science, he looks for ways to lift everyone up. He realizes that he can never truly lose when he is creating. The narrative describes a business transaction where the seeker refuses to take advantage of a desperate seller, choosing instead to offer a fair price that benefits both. This act of integrity, far from losing him money, opens up even greater channels of wealth. As he becomes a trusted node in the cosmic network of exchange, he discovers that the rich who follow the certain way are the most beneficent people on earth, as their wealth is built on the success of others. This challenges the listener to rethink the morality of money. The lesson learned is that true wealth is a collaborative venture between the individual and the collective. When you move from the competitive to the creative plane, you become a magnet for people who want to help you, because your success facilitates theirs. The seeker's life becomes a living testimony to the idea that there is no limit to what a human being can achieve when they stop fighting and start creating. As the narrative nears the end of its first stage, the seeker reflects on the sheer simplicity of the laws he has discovered. He marvels at how he spent years overcomplicating his life, searching for complex strategies and hidden secrets, when the truth was always right in front of him. Think in a certain way, act in a certain way. He realizes that his previous failures were not due to a lack of ability, but a lack of alignment. The story depicts him standing on the balcony of his new life, looking back at the man he used to be with a sense of profound compassion. He sees that poverty is a disease of the mind, a failure to recognize the nature of reality. He feels a burning desire to share this science with the world, not by preaching, but by living as a shining example of what is possible. The atmosphere of the narrative shifts from one of striving to one of quiet, majestic power. The seeker is no longer chasing wealth, wealth is chasing him. He has become the person who is fit for riches. The lesson is that your external world will always catch up to your internal state. You do not need to struggle to bring things to you, you only need to stay in the state of mind that allows them to arrive. The seeker understands that the entire universe is on his side, and that every atom of the formless substance is working to fulfill his vision. Provided he does not disconnect through doubt or fear, he is now ready to step into the fullness of his destiny, a master of the science of getting rich. The seeker's evolution enters a phase of supreme psychological fortitude as he masters the art of the use of the will. The narrative describes him standing at a crossroads where the old, seductive habits of worry and overanalysis threaten to pull him back into the abyss of mediocrity. He learns that he must never use his will to influence others, to coerce the universe, or to force things to happen in the physical world. Instead, he must turn that iron will inward, using it as a shield to guard his mind against the intrusion of negative imagery. The story portrays him in a moment of intense focus, refusing to look at images of poverty, refusing to read accounts of failure, and closing his ears to the talk of hard times. He realizes that looking at the poor or studying the causes of poverty does not help the world. Instead, it populates his mind with the very conditions he seeks to transcend. This is a dramatic departure from conventional charity or social concern. He understands that the best way he can help the poor is by becoming rich himself and showing them the way. The drama unfolds in his daily discipline. He must act as a gatekeeper of his own consciousness. This segment teaches the vital lesson that your will is the rudder of your soul. If you allow the rudder to be turned by the shifting winds of external circumstances, you will be dashed against the rocks of lack. But if you hold the rudder steady toward your vision of abundance, the currents of the universe will eventually carry you to your destination. It is a lesson in the power of mental isolation, the ability to remain in a state of opulence even when the physical world has not yet caught up. As the journey continues, the protagonist confronts the law of efficient action. He observes that many people spend their days in a frenzy of busyness, yet they achieve nothing of substance. He realizes that the quantity of work is irrelevant if the quality of the spirit behind it is lacking. The narrative follows him through a single day, showing how he transforms mundane tasks into acts of power. He no longer rushes, for rushing implies a fear that there isn't enough time or opportunity, a return to the competitive mind. Instead, he moves with a calm, deliberate grace, knowing that the right opportunities will always present themselves. He learns that a successful day is not one where 1,000 things are done, but one where every single thing done is a success in itself. This requires an intense presence of mind, a mindfulness of wealth. If he writes a letter, he does it with the conviction that it will achieve its purpose. If he speaks to a client, he does it with the absolute certainty that the interaction will result in an increase for both. The story depicts the cumulative effect of these perfect actions. They begin to build a momentum that feels like a tidal wave of prosperity. The lesson learned is that greatness is not found in doing great things, but in doing small things in a great way. It is the energy you infuse into your actions that determines their result. By performing every act with the power of his vision and the purpose of getting rich, the seeker turns his daily life into a continuous prayer of manifestation. The narrative then explores the impression of increase, a concept that becomes the seeker's social signature. He realizes that every human being is seeking more life, more beauty, more experience. This is the divine impulse within all things. The story follows the seeker as he interacts with everyone from a street sweeper to a high-powered executive, leaving each person with the distinct feeling that they are bigger for having met him. He does not boast of his success, he radiates it. He becomes a creative center from which increase is given to all. This is not about flattery, it is about genuine, soulful recognition of the potential in others. This attracts people to him like moths to a flame. For everyone wants to be around the person who makes them feel more alive. The narrative shows how his business grows not through aggressive marketing, but through the irresistible pull of his advancing personality. The lesson is that you must become a man of increase, a person who adds value to the world simply by existing. When you embody the spirit of growth, the world will beat a path to your door. Because you are fulfilling the most fundamental desire of the human heart, a significant tension arises as the seeker deals with the timing of the universe. He has done the mental work and the efficient action. Yet there are moments when the formless substance seems silent. The narrative describes a period of waiting, a test of his faith. During this time, He is tempted to doubt the science, to believe that he has been deceived by his own imagination. But he stands firm, remembering that the manifestation of a large result takes time to organize through the natural world. He avoids the haste that kills creativity. The story portrays him as a gardener who has planted the seed and knows that digging it up every day to see if it's growing will only kill it. He remains in the state of knowing, acting as if the wealth is already his, even when his bank balance says otherwise. This is the peak of his spiritual development, the ability to maintain the certain way when there is no visible evidence of success. The lesson here is that faith is not a feeling, but a decision. It is the persistent refusal to accept anything less than the fulfillment of your vision. The seeker learns that the universe is never late, it is merely preparing the stage for his grand entrance. The narrative then shifts to the enlarging life, where the seeker begins to see the fruits of his labor appearing in unexpected ways. A chance encounter leads to a major investment, an old friend returns with a lucrative proposal, a sudden intuition leads him to a new market. The story depicts these events not as miracles in the traditional sense, but as the inevitable reactions of the formless substance to his actions. He realizes that he has become a co-creator with the divine. He is no longer a separate, struggling individual, he is a part of the grand expansion of the universe. He sees that his wealth is not just for his own pleasure, but is a tool for the further advancement of life. He uses his resources to create more opportunities, to build more beauty, and to fund more creativity. The narrative shows him moving with a sense of majestical ease, a man who has mastered the laws of the world and the laws of the mind. The lesson is that the purpose of wealth is the liberation of the soul. Money allows you to be more, do more, and give more. It is the fuel for the fire of human evolution. In the final movement of this stage, the seeker reflects on the relationship between his mind and the universal mind. He realizes that his thoughts are not merely personal, they are his way of communicating with the intelligence that runs the stars. The story depicts a moment of profound mystical union, where he feels the pulse of the formless substance within his own heart. He understands that the science of getting rich is actually a science of being one with the source. He sees that the more he aligns with the laws of life, the more the life force flows through him, bringing with it all the material riches he could ever desire. This realization brings a deep, unshakable peace. He is no longer afraid of the future, for he knows the laws of the future. He is no longer haunted by the past, for he has rewritten his history through his present actions. He stands as a master of his destiny, a man who has successfully bridged the gap between the invisible and the visible. The lesson is that true mastery is the recognition of your own divine nature and your inherent power to shape the formless into form. He is now prepared to conclude his journey and leave behind the legacy of a life lived in the certain way. The seeker's journey reaches its breathtaking zenith as the veil between the physical and the metaphysical finally dissolves. He stands no longer as a man trying to get rich, but as a man who has become the personification of abundance. The narrative describes a moment of profound clarity where he realizes that his entire life has been a series of reflections. The poverty he once endured was the shadow of a fragmented mind, and the opulence he now enjoys is the light of a unified one. He looks upon his vast holdings, his thriving enterprises, and his influential position not with the pride of a conqueror, but with the humility of a conduit. He understands that the formless substance does not give to him because he is special, but because he has made himself a clear channel through which the universe can express its own desire for expansion. The story follows him as he navigates his final challenges, showing that even in the face of temporary setbacks, he remains unmoved. He has reached a state of invincible poise, where he knows that if one door closes, the law of opulence will simply build him a palace with 10 more. This segment of the journey is a testament to the fact that the greatest wealth is the loss of the fear of poverty. The lesson here is that the science of getting rich is, at its heart, the science of self-mastery. Once you have conquered the kingdom of your own mind, the kingdoms of the world are added to you as a matter of course. Throughout this immersive retelling, the core message of Wallace D. Wattles' work rings out with the force of a bell. Getting rich is not a matter of environment, talent, or savings, but a result of doing things in a certain way. This certain way requires the absolute synthesis of a creative vision, an unshakable faith, a heart of deep gratitude, and the execution of efficient, purposeful action in the present moment. The story reveals that the universe is a living, thinking entity that is fundamentally biased toward life, growth, and increase. To align with this bias is to become unstoppable, to oppose it through competition and scarcity is to invite struggle and decay. The book intends to convey that wealth is a divine right and a scientific necessity for the soul's evolution. It teaches that you do not need to wait for a change in the government, the economy, or your boss to begin your ascent. You are the sole architect of your financial reality, and the tools of construction are your own thoughts and actions. The meaning of the work is found in the liberation of the individual from the slave mentality of the industrial age, offering instead the sovereign mentality of the creative age. It is a call to stop being a passive recipient of life's circumstances and to start being a conscious creator of your own destiny. The archetypal seeker's narrative concludes with a scene of quiet grandeur. He is seen mentoring a new generation, not by handing them gold, but by teaching them the laws of the formless substance. He shows them that the supply is infinite, that the source is inexhaustible, and that the only limits that exist are those they place upon themselves. He stands as a living bridge between the world of ideas and the world of things, a master of the certain way who has proven that the spiritual and the material are not enemies, but two sides of the Kung Mo Dongtian. The intensity of the narrative softens into a majestic peace, as the seeker realizes that by becoming rich in the scientific way, he has fulfilled the highest purpose of his existence. He has allowed the Creator to live more fully through him. He has moved beyond the need for validation, for he is now a partner with the infinite. The story ends where it began, with the formless substance, but now, that substance is no longer a mystery, it is his most intimate collaborator. The journey is complete. The science is proven, and the wealth is eternal. The core message of the science of getting rich is that wealth is the inevitable result of aligning your mind with the infinite creative energy of the universe through a clear vision, unwavering faith, and acting with total efficiency in the present. The universe is a vast, intelligent ocean of abundance that only requires your focused thought and purposeful action to pour its riches into your life.